Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
Hi everyone, Sue here at 1A Auto, and today I'm going to show you how to do rear brakes on a 2015 Jeep Wrangler. You need any parts for your car? Click on the link below and head on over to 1AAuto.com. I'm going to take the tire off, 19mm socket. I have the weight of the vehicle on the tire, and I'm going to break them all free. Take the lug nuts off. $50mm socket. I'm going to take the caliper off of the caliper bracket. And you can see that the caliper mounting pin is moving. So the pin sliding with the 50mm socket, and that is a 15mm wrench to hold that caliper pin. I'm going to break it free. Just have to hold it in place. And then we can probably use our hand, take that pin, that bolt out. Set that aside. We're going to take the bottom out the same way. See if the pin moves. So just put your 15mm wrench in there. Take that out. Now we can pry the caliper off. Beautiful. So this is usually what you find sometimes in a car with low mileage. That's the backing of the pad. And just discard it, take it out. Never let your caliper hang down, so I'm going to place it up in there, stop it from falling down. Now I'm going to take the caliper bracket off with the pad still in there. The caliper bracket to the knuckle is a 18mm wrench. That's what the bolt head is. I'm going to loosen that up. You got two of them, one on the bottom and one on the top. It should be good enough to loosen by hand. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Move the bracket off. Now you can clearly see the pads are wasted. We're almost metal to metal. Got 1/32 on this side and less than that right there. And now with the caliper bracket off, we'll see if the rotor will come off without backing off on the e-brake shoes. The e-brake shoes sit inside right in here. And they call this the hat of the rotor. So the e-brake shoes sit inside the hat of the rotor. And if they're adjusted, sometimes you can't get your rotor off. And you have to de-adjust them on the slot in the back. But we'll see what we got here for movement. Well, I lucked out. So you can see that this rotor has got a big lip on it. And the inside where the e-brake rides. Looks like we had a fluid leak at one point. Looks like the axle seal was leaking. Whenever you get a new vehicle, or a fairly new vehicle, so this is a 15, and these clips right here are an indication that someone has never taken this rotor off. That comes from the factory. They put them on the factory assembly line. So to remove those, they're non-reusable. To remove them, I just take a pair of Nippics or cutters and I slide it in that ear like that, pull it up, grab it, pull it out. And all you have to do is twist it and it'll break right off. You don't need these. They're on there to hold the rotor flush as it goes down the assembly line, and that's it. Here we have the rear rotor and pads, brake pads to our 2015 Jeep Wrangler. Pads. This is from 1A, and these are factory. I would have to say they got every moment of life out of that. The brackets are identical. Seating's perfect. The new rotor. It's a solid rotor, just like the factory. Angled hat, just like the factory. It's got a lip on it, which keeps the water out of the e-brake shoes area, and it's a nice cross-cut. So if you need these parts or any other parts for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. So before I put the rotor on, I like to clean the hub surface. Sometimes I use a air tool, but this truck has got zero rust on it. So just giving it a wire brush. The old rotors came right off, no problem. So I'll put a little anti-seize on that. Mostly around where the hub sits, the hat to the rotor. Right in here is where they get oxidized. Okay, let's get the new rotor and put her on there. I'm going to set it up like that first. I'm going to use some brake clean and clean the oil off, the shipping oil. It's just a coating they put on for shipping so it doesn't get all rusty. Then I'll spin it around. And I'll spray this side. So here we have the rear caliper bracket. We're going to clean it up and reassemble it and then put the pads on. So first thing I do is I'll take all the clips off. Now this hardware looks like it's in pretty good shape. It's not really bad, but a 1A Auto sells it, so I'm going to replace it. So when I ordered my pads and rotors, I ordered the hardware kit also. Now if you don't know if your hardware is any good, I suggest you order the hardware. And if you don't use it, you can always return it. But kind of makes sense to me that before you tear it apart and you're waiting for your parts and you order them, then you get into the job. What happens if you open this boot and you have a hole in it? You can't reuse it. So order the hardware, get it ready, don't open the bag. If you don't need it, send it back. So take each pin out, take the boot off because I'm replacing the boots. I'm going to examine the pins. They're in great shape. There's no rust. There's no scoring. Take my wire brush and I'm going to clear away the rust where those tins sit. Do the same to both sides. Now if I didn't buy the hardware kit and I was going to reinstall the old stuff, I would physically clean each one of these so I could get all that rust off there, and especially on the back side. The reason for that is if you have rust buildup on these, eventually what happens is these tins start to slide up. When that happens, the pad doesn't get the chance to slide back and forth, and therefore you have improper wear. And you know, you spend your money, you work hard for your money. So I'm going to use a little brake clean, clean that surface up. Maybe give it with it wet like that, I'll give it a little couple more scratches. That'll dry in no time. Open my bag here. So these tins, they come coated. See, they got a nice, it's almost like a neoprene plastic-like. So that stops it from rusting. It's really important that it doesn't rust. I might not have to with that coating on there, but it's just a small coat of the silicone paste, and that's water-resistant silicone paste. So that stops any water from building up and rusting. So to reinstall this tin, the lock, this tab goes on the outside and that goes on the inside. And the higher wall goes on the inside. So this would be the outside of the caliper bracket. So this particular tin is going to go right here. Just snap it down. So here's this one. I'm going to line it up. That one's going to go here. Put the inner part in first and snap it down on the outside. And repeat this process and put the other two tins on. Perfect. So I'm going to take the pin and I'm going to wipe off all the old slider grease on there. I'm going to get my silicone paste. You can use caliper paste. There's all sorts of stuff. I have this high temp silicone glide. Now I'm going to get a new boot. There is no front or upper back. It's just all one piece here. I'm going to slide that on. Actually, first, I'm going to put some silicone on the inside. There we go. You want it to sit inside that groove, so in the future it has that capability of keeping that. I'm going to slide that pin in. I'm just going to spin it because it works any air out. I'm going to push it down, put that boot on. See how the boot fills up with air? I'm going to work that air out. And if you put too much paste in, you won't be able to put that slider all the way down. I know it's going all the way down, so I know it's not overloaded with paste. Now I'm going to repeat the process on this side. So now we're going to put the caliper bracket back in. Line that up. I'm going to put my top bolt on, put the bottom one in. I just use a flathead screwdriver to push that new shim up. It has that little lock tab on it, so you're gonna have to bend that tab. There we go. Get the caliper ready to install. The torque on the caliper to differential bracket is 77 foot-pounds. It's a tight fit, but you can get in there. Yeah. Now I get the bleeder screw opened, and I can squeeze that piston back, and the fluid's gonna go right out the back of that bleeder screw, not up into the ABS module. And I can put my new caliper, well, not my new caliper, but mount my caliper and my two mounting screws. These are 13mm heads on this, so a socket or a wrench. And the torque spec for these mounting bolts is 26 foot-pounds. And that's a 15mm slider in there to put your wrench on. See the caliper pin slides around. It's a 15mm wrench. The bleeder screw is an 11mm wrench. I'm just going to pop it open and let it gravity bleed down into my bucket. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've already opened the bleeder screw to push my piston back when doing a brake job. So now I just want to make sure there's no air. Shouldn't have gotten the system, but just guaranteeing it. Now I have a steady drip, just going steady, no pause in between. That should be fine. Now I'm going to tighten this up, lower the vehicle, and we'll pump the brakes up and see how they feel. Don't forget to clean this area and to put the rubber boot back on the caliper bleeder screw. Just tighten these by hand, then we'll lower it. So we're going to torque the wheel to 122 foot-pounds. The vehicle is just lowered enough to put the weight on the vehicle, on the tire, I mean. So we check the reservoir and we're just going to top it off before we pump the brakes up. It's going to take a little bit because all pistons got pushed all the way back. And there it is. It's nice firm brake pedal. Perfect.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.